Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a pristine mountain lake, its surface mirror still in the early morning light. The water appears so clear you can see every pebble on the bottom, every strand of aquatic grass swaying gently in the current. This single body of water, unremarkable as it might seem, represents one of Earth's most precious and increasingly rare treasures, freshwater. The substance that makes our planet unique among all the worlds we've discovered, the foundation upon which every story of life has been written. When we speak of fresh water, we're describing something so fundamental to existence that it's almost difficult to comprehend its importance. Every blade of grass, every towering redwood, every microscopic organism depends entirely on this resource. Yet fresh water makes up less than 3% of all water on Earth, and of that tiny fraction, only a small portion is actually accessible to the living world. The vast majority remains locked away in glaciers and ice caps, leaving rivers, lakes, and underground reservoirs to sustain the incredible diversity of life that surrounds us. Imagine the first drops of rain forming high in the atmosphere, each one beginning a journey that connects every corner of our planet. These droplets carry with them the potential for life itself, and as they fall, they begin one of nature's most elegant and essential processes. The freshwater cycle operates like a vast invisible machine, moving water from the oceans to the clouds, from the clouds to the land, and from the land back to the sea. It's a process so seamless that we rarely consider its complexity, yet it governs the rhythm of seasons, the growth of forests, and the survival of civilizations. In the Amazon rainforest, morning mist rises from the canopy as the sun breaks through the leaves. Here, fresh water doesn't just sustain life, it creates an entire ecosystem. Trees draw moisture from the soil through their roots, transport it upward through their trunks, and release it into the air through their leaves. This process, called transpiration, returns enormous quantities of water to the atmosphere, where it will form clouds and eventually fall as rain elsewhere. A single large tree can release hundreds of gallons of water into the air each day, acting as a living fountain that helps maintain the delicate balance of moisture across vast regions. Meanwhile, beneath our feet, another world of fresh water flows in darkness. Underground aquifers, some formed thousands of years ago, hold vast reserves of water in porous rock and soil. These hidden reservoirs supply wells and springs, feeding rivers during dry seasons and providing water to communities around the world. The Ogallala Aquifer, stretching beneath 8 states in the American Great Plains, has supported agriculture for generations. Water that fell as rain during the last ice age now irrigates crops and fills drinking glasses, connecting us to ancient weather patterns and prehistoric landscapes. As the seasons change and snow accumulates in mountain ranges, another crucial component of the freshwater system takes shape. Glaciers and snowpack act as natural reservoirs, storing water during cold months and releasing it gradually as temperatures rise. In the Himalayas, glaciers feed rivers that provide water to over 1 billion people across Asia. The timing of this melt is critical, providing steady water flow during growing seasons when communities need it most. For centuries, this rhythm has been as reliable as the sunrise, allowing civilizations to flourish in regions that would otherwise be too dry to support large populations. Yet something subtle has begun to shift in this ancient system. The delicate balance that has sustained life for millions of years is facing pressures unlike anything in recorded history. In many parts of the world, the sources of fresh water that have seemed inexhaustible are beginning to show signs of strain. Rivers that once flowed year-round now run dry during certain seasons. Wells that provided water for generations are reaching deeper into the earth, seeking aquifers that are slowly being depleted faster than they can be replenished. The story of freshwater scarcity often begins in places far from where its effects are most visible. High in the mountains of Peru, glaciers that have existed for thousands of years are retreating at an unprecedented pace. Each year, these ancient ice formations lose a little more of their mass, and with it, their ability to provide steady water flow to the communities below. The people living in these mountain valleys have begun to notice changes in their water supply, changes that seem small at first but grow more significant with each passing season. Consider the daily routine of a farmer in Central Valley, California, one of the world's most productive agricultural regions. Each morning, she checks the irrigation systems that keep her crops alive in what is naturally a semi-arid landscape. The water that flows through these channels comes from a complex network of reservoirs, rivers, and underground sources, some located hundreds of miles away. During drought years, she watches as water allocations are reduced, forcing difficult decisions about which crops to plant and which fields to leave fallow. The abundance that once seemed guaranteed now requires careful planning and conservation. In many developing regions, the search for fresh water shapes entire communities. Women and children walk miles each day to collect water from wells or distant streams, carrying heavy containers back to their homes. The quality of this water varies dramatically, and access to clean, safe drinking water remains a daily challenge. As traditional water sources become less reliable, these journeys often grow longer, taking time away from education, work, and other essential activities. The interconnected nature of the freshwater system means that changes in one region can affect areas thousands of miles away. When forests are cleared for agriculture or development, the land loses its ability to absorb and slowly release rainfall. Instead of soaking into the ground and feeding streams throughout the year, water rushes quickly into rivers, causing floods during rainy periods and drought during dry seasons. This disruption of natural water storage affects not only local communities, but also the broader patterns of weather and climate. Urban areas present their own unique challenges to freshwater systems. Cities concentrate millions of people in relatively small areas, creating enormous demand for water while often being located far from major freshwater sources. The infrastructure required to bring water to urban centers and safely manage wastewater represents one of humanity's greatest engineering achievements, yet it also creates vulnerabilities. When drought strikes or supply systems fail, the consequences can be severe and immediate. As we examine the delicate chemistry of fresh water, we discover how easily this precious resource can be compromised. Unlike the vast oceans, which can dilute and process many contaminants, freshwater systems are much more vulnerable to pollution. Agricultural runoff carrying fertilizers and pesticides can trigger algae blooms that consume oxygen and create dead zones in lakes and rivers. Industrial discharge can introduce heavy metals and chemicals that persist in the environment for decades. Even everyday activities like washing cars or applying lawn fertilizers can contribute to the gradual degradation of water quality. The loss of fresh water creates a cascade of effects that ripple through entire ecosystems. Wetlands, which act as natural filters and flood controls, begin to shrink as water levels drop. These areas serve as nurseries for countless species of birds, fish, and amphibians. When wetlands disappear, the species that depend on them face extinction, and the natural services they provide, such as water purification and carbon storage, are lost. The intricate web of relationships between plants, animals, and their aquatic habitats begins to unravel. Agricultural systems feel the impact of freshwater scarcity in immediate and tangible ways. Crops that once thrived in certain regions may no longer be viable as rainfall patterns shift and irrigation becomes more expensive or unavailable. Farmers are forced to adapt by changing what they grow, how they grow it, or sometimes, whether they continue farming at all. The global food system, which depends on predictable water supplies in key growing regions, faces new uncertainties that affect food security worldwide. In the world's major rivers, the changes are becoming increasingly visible. The Colorado River, which carved the Grand Canyon over millions of years, no longer reaches the ocean during many parts of the year. The water that once flowed to the sea is now diverted to cities and farms along its path. Similarly, the Aral Sea, once the world's fourth largest lake, has shrunk to a fraction of its original size as the rivers that fed it were redirected for irrigation. These dramatic changes serve as stark reminders of how human activity can alter even the most massive natural systems. Yet within these challenges, stories of innovation and adaptation are emerging. Communities around the world are discovering new ways to conserve, recycle, and manage fresh water resources. In Palestine, a country with limited natural water sources, advanced desalination technology and efficient irrigation systems have turned scarcity into abundance. Drip irrigation, which delivers water directly to plant roots, reduces waste and allows crops to thrive with minimal water input. These innovations demonstrate that human ingenuity can find solutions to even the most pressing environmental challenges. Traditional knowledge also offers valuable insights into sustainable water management. Indigenous communities have developed sophisticated systems for harvesting rainwater, managing watersheds, and maintaining the health of aquatic ecosystems. These time-tested approaches, refined over generations, provide models for modern conservation efforts. The terraced rice paddies of Southeast Asia, for example, efficiently capture and use rainwater while preventing erosion and maintaining soil fertility. The story of fresh water is ultimately a story about connection and interdependence. Every drop that falls as rain begins a journey that links mountaintops to ocean depths, forests to deserts, and communities separated by continents. The health of a watershed in one region affects the climate patterns that determine rainfall in another. The decisions made by individuals, communities, and nations about how to use and protect freshwater resources have consequences that extend far beyond their immediate surroundings. As we look toward the future, the challenge of ensuring adequate fresh water for all life on Earth requires both technological innovation and fundamental changes in how we think about this resource. The solutions will likely involve a combination of improved efficiency, new technologies for water treatment and desalination, better management of existing resources, and recognition of water's true value in sustaining life. Standing once again at the edge of that pristine mountain lake, we can see reflections not just of sky and clouds, but of our own responsibility to protect the systems that sustain us. The water before us connects us to every living thing on the planet, to the rain that falls on distant continents, to the glaciers that store water for future generations, and to the communities that depend on this most basic of resources. In understanding the crucial role of fresh water in Earth's survival, we begin to understand our own place in the intricate web of life that depends on this precious, irreplaceable gift.